The other day on his Instagram, Joe Bonamassa put up a post suggesting that his playing was getting rusty. And I mean, just like the rest of us, he spent all the year cooped up at home, not playing shows, not touring. Maybe he's right. Let's find out. Oh. Yowza. Well, alrighty then. Well, I think it's safe to say that Joe's playing is surviving just fine, but even if it wasn't, a rusty Bonamassa is still sharper edged than most of us on our best days. A wise man once said that. It was me, just now, I said that. So in today's lesson, we're going to talk about some of the licks, tricks, and techniques that Bonamassa used in this free-form B minor blues frenzy. Well, hey there kids, it's your good buddy Uncle Ben Eller. I don't know what needs to be said about Joe Bonamassa. He's an incredible player, a total guitar nerd and historian, and the bearer of the torch of shreddin' blues licks. He's also a hell of a nice guy who I had the privilege of sharing the stage with this summer at my buddy Andy Wood's Woodshed Guitar Experience Camp, the first of hopefully many more of those events. I got to play on stage with Joe and a bunch of other legendary players, as well as spend some time hanging out with him backstage, chatting about guitars, and all the other cool nerd shit. On December 4th, Joe put up a video over on his Instagriddle page of him playing a beautiful ancient Telecaster, ripping through some of his signature licks in the key of B minor. As soon as I heard this video, it blew me away, and I knew I had to figure out what made some of those hot licks tick and share it with you guys. So in today's lesson, we're going to break down 5 of the hottest moments from that Instagram post and talk about the kind of picking techniques and stuff you're going to need to make them happen. As always, downloadable tabs as well as a bevy of backing tracks, bonus lessons, and so much more are available to everybody who supports my channel over on my Patreon page at patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. This week, my Patreon supporters are also getting a brand new exclusive installment of The Lick Doctor, the series where I help my lovely and loyal patrons get more better at guitar. All these things and more are available to you even for just $1 a month, so be sure to click the Patreon link in the video description below and check it out today. In Joe's video, he is playing a gorgeous old Telly, and in today's video, I'm playing a gorgeous new Telly. This is my new Suhr Modern T that I got recently that I am absolutely in love with. Look at that roasted flame neck. My gourd almighty, this thing rules. I'm still planning on doing a full Meet the Machines episode all about this guitar right here, but with the pedal demo I did the other day, I figured you guys might be a little geared out for now, but stay tuned for all kinds of details on this thing. And I'm playing this guitar through one of my favorite Klon style pedals that's on the market right now, the Wampler Tumnus. Early in the video, Joe eases us into the shred fest with this awesome blues phrase that features one of my favorite intervals to add into pentatonic playing, the 9th. Now let's hear that one again at stepdad speed. Now, a good way to find the 9th whenever you're playing any kind of blues stuff or pentatonic stuff is to find the root note. So in this case, B. It could be that B, or that B, any B that you got. Play the note one whole step higher than it. That interval right there is the 2nd or 9th. And this is a really cool thing to add into your playing. Stevie Ray Vaughan, Gary Moore, all kinds of players use the 9th all the time in their playing. It's really effective because if you're playing over a B minor sound, that chord has got to have the notes B and D, it's minor 3rd, in it. So you playing the 9th, the C sharp note that's kind of right here in between them, it has a really tense, kind of caught in the middle sound that sounds really sad and bluesy. Then these 3 notes on the B. Notice that when I hit that high A note right there, the flat 7, he puts like a little quarter tone kind of bend on it. It's just enough to kind of make the note sound like it has a little lilt to it. Here's that 9th. So again, right there's your root, so there's the 9th. Really cool sound. Then we have this move. It's a cool one, sliding in and sliding in again. And then this. I can't see Joe's right hand in the frame, but I'm going to assume he probably hybrid picks that note. Joe uses hybrid picking a lot in his blues playing. And that's it. The second lick that we're going to talk about is the first really burning thing that he plays in here. This is the part in the clip that really made my big toe shoot up in my boot and decide to start digging into these licks. As I go through this next lick, be sure to follow the picking really closely to get inside of Joe's headspace. That is a nasty one, and I'm still working on getting it up to speed myself, but it sounds something like this. And now let's hear that again at Blues Dad speed. The majority of Joe's playing falls under the umbrella of downward pick slanting, which is a picking system that I've described many times here on my channel, and I learned it all from watching Troy Grady's amazing Cracking the Code series. Whenever Joe does a downstroke, it goes into the strings, and whenever he does an upstroke, it pops out of the strings, like this right here. This angled picking approach gives Joe two specific advantages that he uses all the time. For one, it means that it's really easy for him to change to different strings after upstrokes, considering that his upstrokes always end up with airtime, kind of popping out of the strings right here. The other advantage to this sort of angle of picking is that it means that doing consecutive downstrokes on adjacent strings is really easy too, because it's essentially like having a paintbrush that's permanently angled like this. It goes down the wall very well, right? Up the wall, not so much, so he never really does that. But going down the wall with the pick, or going down through the strings, is a superpower that Joe inherited whenever he started playing this way. What you're going to find in fast licks like this is that basically all of the string changes either occur after an upstroke, or if a string terminates on a downstroke, it's always connecting to a downstroke on an adjacent string. Let's check it out. So first we're going to walk up the scale here using some more of those funky little quarter step bluesy bends. Now here's the first time we use one of these downward, what I call slips. Because I feel like I'm kind of slipping from the G onto the B. Okay? Notice the two connecting downstrokes right there. Anytime Joe has a single, what I call dangling note on a string, just a single downstroke like that, he'll pretty much always follow through with another downstroke on the next highest string. I'm going to call those dangling single notes throughout the majority of this video. Okay, so this lick right here is going to go something like this. Okay, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Now, that string right there terminated in a downstroke, right? A dangling single downstroke. So what he's going to do is to continue that through with another down onto the G string right here. So you have two double dangle downstrokes, if you want to call them that. Let's do that again. Here's the first one. There's the second one. Now after that we slid up here into what a lot of people recognize as the second position pentatonic, or major pentatonic position, if that floats your boat. So after we slide up into that position, we get the next huge flurry of notes, which also starts off with one of those single note dangles. So again, you can see that's a downstroke to a downstroke on an adjacent string, then an upstroke. The upstroke means I can then freely switch to whichever string I want to. In the case of what Joe did, it goes like this. So that's just basically walking straight down the scale. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Before we change positions here back to the first position of the minor pentatonic and play this. And then ending on the octave of the root right there. And he finishes that off with that little, maybe a little upwards rake right there, up to up. The third lick that we're going to talk about here creeps up to the 12th position and uses a combination of legato and economy picking for some really cool sounds that you don't typically hear in the minor pentatonic. And this phrase is kicking off with another single downstroke dangler, slipping onto the next string with a downstroke. Something he does all the time in his playing, so you might as well get used to it. You're going to start off by sliding into the A note on the G string with a downstroke, follow through with a downstroke onto the B string fret number 12, so down, down. Then do an upstroke on the D note on that string, down, down, up. After this, follow through with 3 notes on the high E string, E, F sharp, and A. Down, down, up, down. Hold all 3 of those notes down, that way you can do some legato and pull them off. And then play the 15 on the B string here, the D note. Do that phrase again, and again, before you follow through with a high root note, a high B note happening up here on the high E string. Kind of a little B.B. King-ism at the end of this super shreddy phrase. And you could really do a lot of damage even just with those notes. The 3 legato notes on the high E and the single D note on the B string. Kind of spells like a D major add 9 arpeggio or a D sus2 arpeggio. Using some double downstroke action right there. Get some really cool like Marty Friedman style phrases out of it. Cool stuff. And you can tell that Joe himself liked what he was hearing out of that position because he uses it at the end of this super blazing 4th phrase that we're going to talk about. Super badass playing. I'm still working on getting this up to speed myself, but here's what's going on. And one more time at stepdad speed. So because this lick is totally free time, it's not one of those things you can really practice with a metronome. And I think that's okay, because a lot of these techniques, like these double downstrokes and stuff, I find work really well when they're played in sort of a free time kind of way. So just do them as fast as you're comfortable with, and as you start to become a little bit more, comfy with that double downstroke thing, I think the speed will naturally kind of increase for you. Start off with some sassy Billy Gibbons style quarter tone bends there. Before we play this phrase. Double downstroke action right here. Down, up, single downstroke, down, up, down, up, down, down, up. This phrase is covered in those double downstrokes. If you're still having trouble with that, practice that phrase a bunch. Perfect one to get this double downstroke thing down. Down, up, down, down, up. Down, up, down, down, up. Down, up, down, down, up. I won't even worry about proceeding if you can't get that going on. So spend some time with that right there for a little while before you move on to the next part. After that phrase, we're going to have this. Down, up, pull, down, down, up. Again, there's another double downstroke. Then we're going to have this phrase. Down, slide, up, down. Okay? Down, up, down, down, up. Down, down, up, down. Again, follow the picking closely. It'll pay off. It'll really help you play these style licks better if you just like religiously focus on the picking stuff here. Now that last phrase that we played there ended with a single downstroke. So you know what's coming up next. Another downstroke on the next string. So coming off of that last downstroke on the B note right there, we're going to do down, up, down, up, down. Now this phrase right here, the fingering that you use really matters. Here's how it's going to sound. Okay? So you can say I'm walking up the scale here, and then when you play the C note, the flat 9 right here, use your third finger. That way you have your other 2 fingers behind you to play the next notes in the phrase. After that, what you're going to do is slide up here to the next position of the scale. Down, up, down, up, down. And then again, single dangling downstroke, you're going to follow it up with another downstroke on the B string right here to slide into the root. So that whole phrase is going to sound something like this. So much cool stuff happening right there in that phrase. Now after he gets back up here to the 12th position, that leads him right back to the last idea we talked about. In this case, he goes up the same way he did before. Down, down, up, down, pull-offs. And then going from the flat third to the root right there on the B string. Then we have this flurry of notes that's in the first position B blues scale. Again, that downward pick slant is your best friend when you're playing phrases like that. Get that upstroke really popping out, because otherwise you're always going to risk smacking one of the other strings with your upstroke. But when your upstroke is going out like that, you can hit the string as hard as you want to, and there's no risk of you smashing into some other string. And then he revisits that same little 3-note phrase he played earlier before walking down the rest of the scale like that. And I love this final phrase that we're going to talk about here, because he went like a little bit Yngwie on it. Whenever he played this lick, it really made my ears perk up, because it suddenly got this like cool neoclassical kind of exotic vibe. Joe, play him one last hot lick. All the licks that he's been playing so far have been outlining a B minor blues progression, which would contain the chords B minor, E minor, and then for the turnaround, you'd have this F sharp 7 chord. That F sharp 7 chord features an A sharp, which is out of key for the B minor scale. Typically, the B minor scale has an A in it, but considering that the chord has A sharp, we have to accommodate and play that note to suit the chord. So when you play a B minor scale with an A sharp instead of an A, we get our puffy-shirted friend, the harmonic minor scale. But this isn't necessarily the harmonic minor scale. Since we're playing it over F sharp 7, we're going to think about all those notes in terms of how they relate to F sharp, which would end up spelling out an F sharp Phrygian dominant scale, which again is like the Yngwie scale. I put out a video like 2 weeks ago all about the Phrygian dominant scale. Be sure to check that one out if that's a new one for you. You'll learn all about it, the kind of chords you can make out of it, and some sick licks too. Let's hear that lick again a little more slowly. So first we're going to play B to C sharp. That lands us on the 5th of the F sharp we're playing on at that point. We're going to have this phrase. So that was a bend on the B string. And notice the little slide right here. A little exotic sounding. And then check this phrase out. Okay, so that was E again up here, F sharp again here. And then instead of going back to E on the B string, we're going to go to E on the E string. So there's a little position shift happening right here. And then that same kind of slidey lick you played a second ago. I'm guessing he did that just so he could move down to this portion of the neck to play this next phrase where he wanted to, instead of having to kind of creep down from further up the neck. Kind of a classic descending fours kind of lick. Off of that last slide, here's the phrases. Notice the slide he does right there too. 2 notes on the G, 3 on the D here. We're going to play E, D, and then slide down a half step here to C sharp and grab that same fret on your B string 11. Again, that's giving you your 5th and 3rd of that F sharp 7 chord you're playing over at that time. There you you go, guys. 5 of the hottest moments from Joe Bonamassa's December 4th, 2020 Instagram post. It's one thing to learn like a super fleshed out, like composed solo that's over a chord progression and a riff and a groove and stuff. And I think it's another thing entirely just to learn people's totally off-the-cuff licks that they play, you know, without a band, without a chord progression or a drummer dictating what the timing should be or whatever. I think you can really get inside a player's head whenever you learn the stuff that they played off the cuff like this. Thanks again so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for new content coming at you every single week. And be sure to ring the bell for notifications every time I upload a new slice of fried gold. If you like what you saw in this video and want to say thanks, consider supporting my channel over on my Patreon page at patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. You can get tabs for this lesson, you can get all kinds of bonus stuff, all sorts of goodies are available, even for just $1 a month. So be sure to sign up today. Thanks again for watching. Now get away from the computer and put these sick licks to work. Less clicking, more picking.